I don't think my oldest daughter is mine and it's killing me. I already know that this is a terrible thing to think, but it's been on and off in my mind for the past year. So I guess I'll give context to it all. This is a long one just to warn y'all. Me and my ex-wife were together for 10 years before I ended the marriage due to verbal and emotional abuse. During those 10 years we had 2 children, both girls that I love with all my heart. Elle is our oldest that we had towards the beginning of our marriage while R was midway through. I have absolutely no doubts in my mind that R is mine. She is nearly a carbon copy of me in every way, olive skin, curly jet black hair etc. Elle however is a bit different story. She is a lot like her mother and shares a lot of her features. Except for 2 things: general face structure and blonde hair. Now for some background on why that is a red flag for me is because when we went to community college together she had a friend she would always hang out with him, almost as much as me and her would hang out. He has blonde hair and their noses eerily line up. Now my ex and her friend met after our first year of marriage. We got married really young, which was a stupid decision, but besides the fact. Perhaps this is me just being jealous, but they were nearly inseparable. Even after we left college he would drive out great lengths to come see us, but usually when I was at work. About a little less than 3 years into our marriage we were set to leave for another state for me finish my degree. We were all set to leave and then she got pregnant, somewhat of a surprise to me, but I was too excited on being a father to care. Eventually her friend got married as well and he stopped coming over. With one exception, he would always make it a point to come to Elle's birthday. Now this friend already has a kid of his own, 1.5 years older than Elle, and would bring him to the party. When I tell you that these two looked nearly identical, that doesn't even begin to describe it. Eventually these two became the same body build, hair color and face and nose shape. Everyone would mistake them as siblings. That's when these thoughts first got into my head. A few years later we eventually had R and I wanted to try moving again so I could finally finish my degree. Also at this time my ex's friend had also recently got married to his new girlfriend, my ex hated always saying he didn't seem to be a right fit for him. After great resistance from her we finally moved to the other state. Things quickly unraveled in our relationship and we divorced. Not how I imagined things going, but that is life. They moved back to her family and coincidentally her friend immediately divorced when they returned. Then soon after that the both of them started dating and married. I am happy for them, I really am. But when I went to go visit them for the summer, Elle asked me if she could take her stepdad's last name, which really hurt, but if it was what she truly wanted I wasn't going to deny her that. R wanted to keep her last name as it makes her feel closer to me. Then the thing that really set me off. For some reason we were all joking about no more kids, even though Elle wants another sibling and she was sad she would never get one. Me and my current so have been thinking of having a kid, so I told her as much. She wasn't really amused, saying that she meant for her mom her stepdad, cause a baby from me wouldn't really be their sibling like her mom and her stepdads. Her mom quickly interjected saying that would be the case for them too, as they would only be half siblings. It felt very forced, and now that I'm back home it's all I can think about. I haven't really talked with my eldest for the past week and a half because of it. I don't want to be thinking this, I don't want to believe my ex would have done that. She was a lot of things during our marriage, but I would never in a million years think of her as a cheater, but now it's all I can think about. I couldn't keep this one to myself. I need to know if I sound crazy or not. Comment. Get a test. Stop torturing yourself with unknowing and find out. And then please update us, OMG. Most of all though, I'm so sorry you are going through this. It sounds awful and I hope you have a good support network around to help cope with all these emotions, and those still to come. Please get a test done. Yeah, like genetics are crazy sometimes. You can't just assume. I get why op is suspicious, but why torture yourself when there is an easy solution? Yep. My dark-haired, olive-skinned friend who was married to a guy who was half Asian had 2 blonde, blue-eyed boys. She laughed and said they must be foundlings, but they're absolutely hers. My husband is the only one in memory in his mom and dad's families to have blue eyes. Gorgeous light and bright blue eyes. His dad's an absolute dick, and I'm certain that he wouldn't have for a second raised a kid he thought wasn't his or blame my mill for having an affair if my husband hadn't been a twin. Genetics are funny and unpredictable. You wouldn't know my girls were even related if they didn't have the same last name. And sometimes that isn't even enough to clue them in. My kids' school didn't know they were sisters for a year and a half. LOL. It wasn't until I went into a meeting with their teachers individually and them knowing I was the other one's mom too that it clued in. My oldest looks so much like her dad and is almost like identical to her grandmother, down to the same hand movements when they're talking. My youngest looks identical to me and my mom, even birthmarks and freckles. People think we're a blended family, lol. As they get older, it's even more noticeable. But for Up, I'd absolutely get a DNA test. He doesn't have to even tell anyone. He can just send in her toothbrush and replace it at home. I feel so frickin' bad for him. My mother looks nothing like her other siblings. She's a fraternal twin. She's short, blonde hair, blue eyes, fair skin, heavy set, struggled her whole life. Her twin is tall, very dark hair, brown eyes, skinny, and she at least can tan. Mom only burns. Oh, and they did do a DNA test a couple of years ago, for fun, and they are full-blooded siblings. My other 3 uncles look more like my aunt. This right here. Up, not knowing, but being almost certain, is pure torture. You will never get to put your mind at ease this way. Get the test. Find out for certain. Both your ex's and Elle's behavior seem very suspicious. From what Up has described, it sounds like she's taking the transition really well. She asked to take her stepfather's last name fairly quickly. For a child with a father that's not present, and a stepfather completely taking over the role, I could understand wanting to change the last name to the name of the man who raised her, but Up sounds like he's very present, so I'm confused about wanting the name change. If the mother told her daughter the truth and told her to keep it from Up, that's just sinister. I don't think Elle's behavior is suspicious. Her dad lives in another state. She probably doesn't see him often. Him saying he wants a child with his new so isn't happy news to the kids he already has, as they probably don't see him as much, and a new baby isn't going to improve that. While her mom having a baby, she'd be much more involved and a part of. Story 2. My boyfriend told me that he approached me first because of my boobs, and I feel awful. We met at college 2 years ago because we shared a class. He's a funny and handsome guy, and even though I really love him now, at first I found him kinda annoying because he was always talking loud and making jokes with his friends. I've always had big boobs, and until a few years ago I'd always been ashamed and self-aware of them, so I've always tried to hide them with big clothes. I was often getting catcalled or called names because of it, and it grew to the point where I begged my parents to help me. I switched schools and things got better for a while. Then I came to college and nobody cared about them. Nobody cared about me though, and it was so fantastic, and I felt so happy that I took my chance and begun to dress cuter and just allowed myself and my body to exist as I was. But I want to make sure that I still didn't wear tight clothes or big cleavages, just normal clothes, I guess. My experience with guys were bad enough, and when my BF first approached me I kept my distance. Eventually we grew closer and begun dating, and we've been taking it slow. I was happy with him. If he didn't had told me, I'd had never guessed that he approached me because of that. He did say he found me pretty, and since I didn't talk a lot it pinched his interest. I thought it was cute. Last Friday we attended a Halloween party and he had been saying he wanted to see me dressed as Jessica Rabbit. I'm no fool and I knew why, but at this point we've been dating for a year. He had seen me naked and I really like when he dresses with certain t-shirts that show off his arms, so I thought why not, and I got a Jessica Rabbit costume. The party itself was fine. He drank more than he should have, so I drove him back to his APT. On the way home he kept complimenting me and trying to touch me, like in my arms, my face, my legs, just wanted to have his hands on me. I told him off a few times and then he just sat there quietly while looking at me. Then he just said when he first approached me he just wanted to sleep with me to see how big my boobs were, and that he just talked about our dates and things like that. I felt my heart breaking because, as I said, I'd never guessed it. I dropped him off, helped him get to his apartment and just tossed him on his bed. He asked if I wanted to spend the night and I said no. We haven't really talked since and I don't know how to approach it. He always pick me up in the morning so we can go to school, and since I haven't really said anything I know it'll be a silent ride and he'll know. I think it shouldn't matter because I know he's not with me for that anymore, and we didn't even have intimate until a few months after that. But it matters. It bothers me. I feel dirty all over again. Comment. As a man who's dated women with large breasts, I can confidently say that no matter how big/great your boobs are, he wouldn't have stayed with you for over a year if he didn't like everything else about you. Could they be what first caught his attention? Definitely, but to be in a relationship with someone for that long means there's a real connection, and it sounds like you were happy with him before this incident. Does he know the full history about them, and how you used to feel? Maybe sit down and have an open and honest conversation with him about it, and tell him exactly how he made you feel. Maybe I'm just the typical guy, but I'm not understanding the post or complaint here. Most guys, heck most humans, only approach and entertain people they are physically attracted to. Typically there are 1 to 3 things they notice first that catch their attention and draw them to you or keep them interested in you. It's not like I can be attracted to someone's intelligence, or sweet charm or funny jokes on first glance. As a guy it'll be your face, your ass, your tits, or just your body as a whole if you really just have it going on. LOL, like I'm not understanding. That is literally how attraction works. Also, you've been together for a year now. If that was all he cared about, he would have been left and you would have known that that was all he was there for a long time ago. I really don't think this post is about him in any way, TBH. I think this is more about your internal struggle with your own personal body image and the therapy your parents should have gotten you years ago but failed to do, even though they went through the trouble of changing schools for you, which in your own words did nothing to aid your predicament. As an adult, the imperative is now on you to speak to a professional, because even if this relationship doesn't work out, you really don't want to keep making this a problem in the future when there really isn't one. All humans objectify other humans. It's human nature. We try to act like we are above it, but the reality, no one is. Absolutely no one. Hell, even you said you like his arms and when he wears certain shirts that show them off. Newsflash, that is objectification, and in no way does that make you a bad person. Just a regular person just like him. No issue here other than your mental health. Please speak with someone before you go making a habit of ruining things in your external life over your intrusive internal insecurities. I think the thing here is what he said sounds like he only asked her out to sleep with her and view her body. It's one thing to have your interest piqued by body parts, and it's another to view someone as an object. Also, he continually ignored her requests to stop touching her. She should have a serious convo with him about that. If he is going to boundary crash when he is drunk, then he needs to adjust that behavior. I'm confused. Most guys will only approach women they find attractive for some physical trait. Boobs or butt. I don't understand why you would feel bad or upset that he was initially attracted to you for one specific part of your body. If you felt uncomfortable he was touching you, that's different. I don't know, I'm a man, and I don't really get it, I guess. Good luck though. As a man, I can say that we need to like something about you physically in order to approach you. It's not necessarily a bad thing, his reason for approaching you, but I won't say it's a good thing. It's just a very male reaction given how boys are brought up nowadays, be it the internet, TV, magazines, or interactions with other guys. Although judging by your description of events, I would guess that man is in live with you, and sober him probably would have meant for it to be taken a better way. Again, not saying your reaction is wrong, just offering a different perspective. A lot of dating initially is physical attraction. It's crass how he mentioned it, but it's true. If you dump him, the next person could be attracted to your breasts first but never say anything. I don't think this is a red flag. He's obviously stayed with you longer for more than your breasts. If he had just said he asked you out BC boobs, then it'd be easy to dismiss. But the way he said it is just gross, and it was in retaliation for you not letting him grab you while you were driving. With your traumatic feelings tied to this specifically, if he doesn't know how much it hurt you, it's a good idea to tell him if you want to salvage the relationship.